Hi guys. So this is going to be a combination on our charts. We're looking at Aeolia and we're going to do Circe. The bad news is Circe is a handout right here. So this is on its learning. You are expected to know this. So if possible, I would print it out and take notes on the side. Or if it's not possible, that's fine. I would have like a separate sheet of paper or maybe just like a digital notepad to take notes on about it. So I'm going to start with Aeolia, and all it is looking at our italics on page 576, and I'm going to read it for us. Odysseus and his men sail to Aeolia, where Aeolus, king of the winds, sends Odysseus on his way with a gift, a sack containing all the winds except the favorable west wind. So, yeah, north, south. I don't know how this looks for you guys seeing, but north, south, east, west. Odysseus and his men are trying to head west. So King Aeolus puts all the winds except for the west wind in the bag to give to him, because if you're heading west and the wind from the west is blowing you, it's going to push you backwards. So without that wind, his men can go forward. It's great. When they are near home, and so like basically he's like, the sack will help you guys. Just open it. Make sure you open it at the right time so it'll help push you past this obstacle and you'll be able to go home. So they take the wind bag and they head on their ship. And when they are near home, like literally Odysseus can see the shore. And he's like, oh my gosh, there's my country. There's my home. I'm almost there. Thank the gods. But remember, he's cursed because Polyphemus prayed to Poseidon, who's the god of earthquakes and the seas, that Odysseus would have to come home with no men and under a strange sail, and it would take a really long time to get there. So while they can see the shore, Odysseus' men open the sack, letting loose a storm that drives them back to Aeolia. So they were on the island of Aeolia. He gave them the bag of winds. They get so close to home, but the men open the bags because like they're mutinous and they don't listen to Odysseus. Interesting that they are once again not listening to Odysseus. And the winds create a storm because it wasn't open at the right time, and it blows them all the way back to Aeolia, back to the king's island. Aeolus cast them out, having decided they are detested by the gods. So they return because they're like, hey, we got blown back. Can we have another bag of winds? And he says, the gods must hate you because that was pretty much foolproof and you still messed it up. No, go. I don't want a cursed person around me. They set sail for 7 days and arrive at the island of Lastrygonians, a race of cannibals. These creatures destroy all of Odysseus' ships except for the one he is sailing in. So let's say he had, I don't remember how many ships we said he had. 6 ships. He now is down to just 1 for his ship because the cannibals like wreck his crew and eat a lot of them and destroy the ships. And so only his ship can escape. So for my little summary for Aeolia and Lastrygonians, I'd say they get a bag of winds to help them home, but the crewmates don't listen. And when they're so close to home, they open the bag of winds when they're not supposed to, and it blows them off course. Then I would say for Lastrygonians that a race of cannibals takes out all of his men except for 1 ship's worth, Odysseus' ship. So Odysseus has 1 ship of men left. So that's all you need for that. Now we're going to talk about Circe, and she's a very interesting lady. It's going to be fine. After sailing from Calypso's island, Odysseus and his men land on the island of Aeolia. Oh, I'm sorry. Ooh, I already did that part. Skip. Skipping. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like almost all the way through that little italic paragraph on the handout. So if you need to pull it up on its learning so you can follow along with me, not a bad idea. Odysseus' ship sails on, eventually arriving at Aeaea, the home of the enchantress and goddess Circe. So this one really is a goddess. Here, a party of 23 men led by Eurylochus goes off to explore the island. Odysseus is still telling his story in King Alcinous's court. So like this is just my reminder to you guys. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so we already dealt with this. We've already dealt with the bag of winds. He blown all the way back. He said, leave, cannibals. Now we're here on the island of Aeolia. So, um, 23 men head out with Eurylochus, who's one of the leaders. So I'm going to circle Eurylochus. This is the first time we've really seen the name of a person. He's like the first mate or like his right hand man to Odysseus. He's there to help them, but he's very different from Odysseus, and we will see how. Here we go. This is actually from the text. In the wild wood, they found an open glade. Around a smooth stone house, the hall of Circe, and wolves and mountain lions lay there, mild in her soft spell, fed on her drug of evil. No one would attack. Oh, it was strange, I tell you. But switching their long tails, they faced our men like hounds who looked up when their master comes with tidbits for them as he will from the table. Boom, boom, epic simile alert. So I'm going to definitely box that because that's important. Um, as Eurylochus, because Odysseus isn't there right now, as Eurylochus and the men are walking onto the island, they see these mountain lions and the wolves, and they are standing there, sitting there, watching. And I would freak out because those things eat people all the time, but they don't run, which is what's strange. Instead, they are switching their long tails like hounds who look up when their masters come with tidbits for them. So it's not enough just to say that the wolves and mountain lions are being compared to hounds. If I'm asking you about this epic simile, you should say the wolves and mountain lions are sitting like dogs who are waiting for food from their masters. Because I'll tell you guys, I've been going through dog classes with my dog, and like she'll sit and she'll pay attention, but if I'm holding food, oh my gosh, does she like rapt attention, the biggest eyes, like I will do whatever you say. So they are sitting there watching as good as very well trained dogs who are waiting for food from the table. Humbly, back to the text, those wolves and lions with mighty paws fawned on men who met their yellow eyes and feared them. So the mountain lions and stuff don't even attack. They like go up to greet them basically. And they're like, holy heck, there's this wolf walking up to me. But it's a good wolf. It's enchanted almost. In the entranceway, they stayed to listen there. Inside her quiet house, they heard the goddess Circe. Lo, she sang in her beguiling voice, while on her loom she wove ambrosial fabrics sheer and bright, but at craft known to the goddesses of heaven. So it's repeating a few times. She's a goddess. She is full show a goddess. Calypso is not a goddess. She was a nymph. Circe is a goddess. So she's sitting there. She's singing in her beguiling voice, which like means you want to listen to it more. You're like, ooh, tell me more. Probably not how I sound right now, but it's fine. With her beguiling voice, and she's weaving fabric only like how goddesses know how to do. None would speak until Politus, most faithful and likable of my officers, said, and it's funny because his name is Polite, so he's being polite, and so he's talking. Dear friends, no need for stealth. Oh, here's a young weaver singing a pretty song to set the air a tingle on these lawns and paven courts. Goddess she is, or lady, shall we greet her? So instead of gawking, he's like, let's be polite, politess, and go introduce ourselves and greet her. So reassured, they all cried out together, and she came swiftly to the shining doors to call them on. All but Eurylochus, who feared a snare, the innocent went after her. On thrones, she um, seated them in lounging chairs while she prepared a meal of cheese and barley. I'll stop and say that I'm always interested by how it goes with these. And so with Calypso, she's the loveliest and most desirable. But Circe is also an enchantress and a goddess. So I was like, okay, so what are we up against? So ignore. Okay. I was looking it up and I was Googling like Circe the Enchantress. And first picture that pops up is this one. And like, that's an enchanting lady. She's beguiling and she's interesting. And I'm like, ooh, I want to hear more from her. How fascinating. Obviously, probably the shipmen are like, hey, it's a cute lady. Yeah, we should go talk to her. Yeah, we should sit in her house. Let's see what she's about. So that was the first one I saw. And I was like, interesting. But then like the very next picture was this one. And so I'm sorry, I'm always caught off guard by the stark contrast. And so you can decide which Circe you'd prefer. You can like prefer to imagine like the beguiling one who looks like this, like very beautiful. But I kind of prefer this one who goes, huh? Because that's the Circe that makes me laugh the most. Because she's so beguiling and enchanting, and I'm like, ooh, we should go talk to her, but she looks a little scary. So whichever you prefer. I'll leave up the pretty one. So on thrones she seated them, and lounging chairs while she prepared a meal of cheese and barley and amber honeyed mixed with Prammian wine, oh, adding her own vile pinch to make them lose desire or thought of our dear fatherland. Ooh. So remember, they're all going inside except Eurylochus. He stays outside. He doesn't want to go in. And because he's like, I think it's a trap. So Eurylochus thinks it's a trap. I'm making that note. And then he's outside. They're inside. She's feeding. She's like, oh, please come in. Be it this one or that one. Oh, please come in. And sit down and I'll give you food and drink. And here, oh, let me make this for you. And she adds her own vile pinch to make them lose desire or thought of our dear fatherland. So it's kind of like the lotus eaters. If they eat or drink, they would forget. They don't know that. Scarcely had they drunk when she flew after them with her long stick, which actually, look, it's right here at the bottom of our picture, with her long stick, and shut them in a pigsty, bodies, voices, heads, and bristles, all swinish now, though minds still unchanged. So remember, she's an enchantress. So she has, with her magic stick, turned them into swine or pigs. So their bodies, voices, heads, and bristles, all swinish, meaning pig like, now, though minds still unchanged. So they're turned into pigs, but they can still have the brains of men. So like they can still understand things. They just can't talk and they can't say anything. So they're all just pigs squealing there. So squealing, in they went, and Circe tossed them acorns, mast, oh, and cornelberries, fodder for hogs who rut and slumber on the earth. So she's treating them like pigs, which could you analyze that for days? Probably. But so 22 of the men are in there, and then one got away, Eurylochus. Down to the ship, Eurylochus came running to cry alarm. Foul magic doomed his men. But working with dry lips to speak a word, he could not. Being so shaken, blinding tears welled in his eyes, foreboding filled his heart. When we were frantic questioning him, at last we heard the tale. Our friends were gone. Now, here's where Eurylochus is really interesting for us, and we'll see it again. But he is very different from Odysseus. Already, when they went on this island, we've seen Odysseus a few times. He would go up and talk to anybody and see anybody. Like, no, I need to know what this is. Eurylochus is way more cautious. He's like, no, I'm not gonna go with the pretty lady. She might be some kind of trick because, oh, I don't know. We've only been tricked on every island we've gone to. So now he waits and he doesn't go because he's like, no, I'm too worried. So he says, I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna stay outside. So he's very cautious. Where Odysseus would have gone inside and been like, no, let me go inside. He's very cautious. This is an example, a very important one, of a foil because Odysseus is so powerful. He's like, no, let's go forward, let's find things out. And Eurylochus is so cautious that it makes them seem that much more extreme. And we see that again when the men get turned into swine. Because let's be honest, if for some reason Odysseus was not there and he was standing outside and he heard his men get turned into pigs, I bet you anything he would run inside and be like, oh no, how dare you, and avenge his men. Eurylochus runs away. Eurylochus goes back to the boat. And you can debate for yourself and you can decide, was that smart or was that stupid? Like, should he have saved his men, or was it smart to run away because she's clearly, some kind of demon or magic person, or has the gift of the gods and goddesses because she is one, whatever. But either way, he comes running back to the ship. And obviously, I'll go ahead and spoil for you, Odysseus runs forward to go help his men. So again, because Eurylochus ran away and Odysseus wins, like, no, we have to go save the men, it just shows how different they are. And so it makes them seem that much more extreme. They are character foils, write it down. So this is back to the summary portion for me. Odysseus leaves the ship and rushes to Circe's hall. The god Hermes stops him to give him a plant that will weaken Circe's power. Homer calls it Molly, and it might have been a kind of garlic. So please do not go ask your parents to add Molly to your spaghetti tonight. It probably won't go well for you. But it literally is called Molly, and that's how it's pronounced. And it's a kind of garlic. So maybe she's like a vampire witch. Protected by the plant's magic, Odysseus resists Circe's sorcery. The goddess, realizing she has met her match, frees Odysseus' men. Now Circe, the loveliest of all immortals, persuades Odysseus to stay with her. Ooh, I wonder how she persuades him. Checkers. After many seasons of feasting and other pleasures, Odysseus and his men beg Circe to help them return home. So she persuades Odysseus to stay with her, checkers, and they're there for a long time with feasting and pleasures and relaxing. So I know we had kind of like a little class debate about Calypso and if that was cheating or not, like if he was a cheater. With Circe, I have the same question. So he stays for many seasons and feasts and has other fun things. Um, is he a cheater or not? What do you guys think? Um, She responds to their pleas with a command that Odysseus alone must descend to the land of the dead, the cold homes of death, and help Persephone, queen of the underworld. There, Odysseus must seek the wisdom of blind prophet Tiresias. So that's how we get like the story of Land of the Dead is because Circe says, "Well, I mean, I can't really tell you like how to get home, but I know who does, but he's dead. So Odysseus, you have to go find him." So that will be the next story that we end up reading. But that's the end of Aeolia, Lacedaemonians, and Circe. That was much quicker this time. For your packet for Circe, I ask you, write a summary, include everyone who's there. Odysseus we know is there because it's his story. So I talk about Eurylochus, the fact that 23 men went to go talk to Circe, and she's an enchantress. They get turned into swine. Odysseus has to run up. He gets help from the gods because Hermes gives him Molly. And then he doesn't get turned into a swine. And so she's like, wow, you're different. You can't get turned into a swine by me. You should stay with me. And so he stays there for many seasons. And when he does say, help us get home, she's like, okay, well, I can't really like help you, but I know who does. And he's in the land of the dead. So that's where we'll go next. How is Eurylochus a foil to Odysseus? We see two very distinct ways that he's a foil. Explain them. And what does Circe tell Odysseus to do? She says, go to the land of the dead. We have questions on the bottom of this sheet right here. And I would just be able to answer those. If you can't, not the, well, I won't say not the other world. It's important. So maybe like just take some notes on those. Or if you're like, read them like, nah, I can do this. This is fine. I just left these because it's important details to remember since it's not in our book. All right, guys, that's the end of our story.